Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Around the Edge podcast. I'm Tom Ahles, co-founder, partner here at Edge Home Finance, and today I get the opportunity to sit with a good friend of mine, one of our top producing loan officers, one of my office mates. Really was a friend before he even started in the industry. But let's welcome Sid Larson to the show. Yeah, there we go.
Thanks for having me.
We have the clap feature, right?
Yeah,
It does? All right, well.
I'll add it in post.
Yeah. So, Sid, how long have you been with now? It's been 6 years?
So I just got the notification. It was like 2017. October 2017 is when I first started.
Okay, so it'll be 6 years in October?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. I think it was 2016. I think I got licensed in 2016. Didn't close my first loan until like halfway through 2017. So there's a little bit of a drought, but I think it was 2016. So
well, we'll definitely get through. We always cover kind of origin story with these
right.
to where our goal with these is to let our team members, as Edge has grown to where as of today we're at 627 loan officers to where. We've got people all over the country, and a lot of them don't get the opportunity to really get to sit down and have a conversation with you like you and I get to quite often. And Jake, who's here at this as well, Jake's another one that's in our office here in Minnetonka. But let's start from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I always like to do an origin story, where you grew up. Kind of your family. I know you've got a little bit, I'll say, of an interesting family family story, but share with us a little bit about who Sid Larson is.
yeah, it's a little bit of a Maury Povich type story with it. So I mean, taking it all the way back. I'm adopted, right?
Yeah.
Adopted into a loving, caring family.
Okay, so let me just ask.
Yeah.
Adopted from birth, adopted when you were 10 years old, adopted...
Great question. Like 3 months old, maybe less. So I mean, my parents, Sydney and Mary, who adopted me. People call them my adopted parents, but like they're my parents.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They took me in at that sounds terrible, but like at 3 months old, they brought me home, and cared for me and loved me. I have a younger sister. She's about 18 months younger than I am. Korean American, so I mean, a little different origin for her. 18 months, she was brought home to us, and that's the family that I know. Now, oddly enough, my birth parents, so my biological parents, they had me when they were in high school, 17 years old, local Richfield. They went to Richfield.
Okay.
I grew up in St. Paul.
Yep.
Gave me up for adoption, which was literally the best thing that they could have done, and then they split from high school. This is my birth parents. And then both got married to different people, had families. My biological father, his wife passed away. My biological mother, her and her husband get divorced, and they are now back together.
Really?
Yeah, I did their refinance last year, man. It was
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a crazy
It's wild.
story. So adopted at a young age. Your parents then, I know your dad adopted them, both you and your sister. Right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
That's awesome. And you guys grew up in St. Paul.
Yep.
How was that? I don't. I mean, I had a blended family, meaning like my brother and sister had a different father. So I always kind of felt a little different because I was the only one with my last name. I was, we looked a little different. How was that?
That was good. Yeah, I've met your brother. You guys look nothing alike.
No,
great guy.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
love Jamie. Your man, Jamie. Yeah, you got a good one right there. No, it was good. I mean, I grew up in St. Paul, McAllister, Groveland area, Highland Park.
Yep.
So I mean, on the city block that we lived in, I think we counted once. There was 43 kids on the one block, so both sides of the street, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. And so for us, it was like we were always outside. We were doing stuff. We were playing. Good Irish family, good Irish Catholic family. My mom, there's like 8 of them, right? And so we literally had on my mom's side of the family for 8 years a child in every single grade from like first grade to 8th grade. So I mean, big family. Very socialized at a young age. I mean, it was I didn't know any different. Like I didn't know that it was, anything different. That was my only normal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was my normal. And my parents did the best they could. My dad, very blue collar, was a chef. Well, I came to find out later that he was like a top chef in the
Yes.
city. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And so, oddly, I went to chef school. It was one of my failed career paths early on. I went to chef school, and in chef school, my chef was like, Sid, your dad was like the man, late 70s, early 80s. And then when my sister and I came along, my mom's like, the 3 a.m. coming home at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
so
like
tough.
it's not going to work. So anyway, so he started his own company, food manufacturing plant. So blue collar. My sister and I were working at the plant, cheap labor, every summer, right? I mean, it wasn't like we'd stay home. It was like, no, we were working in the summer.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was all we knew. We had a very, it was and I credit a lot of the work ethic that I have today to that, being able to experience that and like, hey, you got a job to get done, you're getting it done
Right.
before you go on break. And I also learned at a young age the importance of work and what it meant to have tough work to get done. And you got to get it done before you can go on break, before you can go to lunch, before you can go home.
Sure.
You got to get it done.
Yep.
So it was. For me, looking back on it now, I mean, I hated it at the time, but
Of course.
dude,
Same with me with working on the farm when I grew up, or doing cleaning horse stalls.
you're on a
or-
farm?
Oh yeah.
Oh, TJ, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was.
It's a whole other podcast right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are where, when you're a kid, you realize, like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. Yet, you also realize, hey, if I want something, I got to work for it. And to me, looking back on it, even the things that I would say that I was, like, I don't know, resentful about, like my grandfather, he was hard, right? But there were a lot of gold nuggets within those life lessons. That same as you. I'm grateful to experience it and go through it. So, did your dad? I mean, your dad. Did he have a restaurant or a bakery? Didn't he have? He had something that I remember because
Yeah.
we have a lot. Obviously, Minnesota's it's a big city, but yet it's kind of small when you kind of know industry professionals. And obviously I was in nightclub restaurants for a while. So even at your wedding, it was fun because we knew a ton of the same people that knew your dad, and everyone that I've ever met has, never had anything but good things to say about your dad and you for the most part. I'll throw in there for the most part. Jake occasionally says something bad about you, but tell me, so did he own a restaurant or a bakery? There was something I remember with your dad that he owned other than a factory type deal. What was it?
Well, it wasn't. He didn't own it. He worked for Franklin Street Bakery. So my dad had his food manufacturing plant for 20 years.
Yeah.
Ended up selling to a company out in Utah. They bought his company, and then went to work for them for a few years. Wasn't really his thing. Left, but he had a non-compete for a year, so he went to go sell motorcycles. My dad's a big Harley rider. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and my mom for that matter. And so he went to sell Harleys, and then he went to work for Franklin Street Bakery, and he went there. I think he worked there for probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
That was definitely what it was. He loved it. I mean, it was great. And then he retired. And they've been retired. My parents hightailed up to Brainerd, the Brainerd area. They're from Minneapolis, and then moved up to Brainerd. Gosh, it had to have been about 2 years now. I mean, and we joke about it now. We got in at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect interest rate.
Yeah.
Perfect price point. I mean,
Yes.
everything that just lined up.
Yeah, that's what
perfectly.
happens. It's there's never waiting. Almost never seems to be the answer. I think if you bought something today, you might think in 2 years from now it could have been the absolute perfect time. Like, to me, when it comes to real estate, one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is waiting. Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but actually I do know about you. I could go through your own pipeline and see clients that hemmed and hawed at 3.25 that, wanted 299 or 2875, right? And it's like,
Let's wait.
we're gonna wait. Well, since then, properties have continued to appreciate, and
Which they do.
and rates have went up. So
Well, and that's the thing. That's something my dad instilled in me a long time ago. It was time in the market is always better than timing the market.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that I've always kind of been good at. It's also been a detriment, but I've just jumped in.
Yeah.
Just do it, right? Just we'll figure it out later. Let's make it happen now, and we'll kind of finagle what we need to get done. But let's get in, let's get it going, and let's see what shakes out, right?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's the same thing. You know, how I came to work for you. I mean, geez, TJ,
We'll get there. We'll get
okay.
there.
All right, okay, perfect. All right, good. I don't want to
Get there. We
teaser.
got. So tell me, you went to high school in St. Paul, right?
Yep.
Yep. Did you go to college afterwards?
Oh, yeah.
What is your? Tell me what happened from kind of your teenage years into entering the workforce, or B, even what type of school did you go for?
Yeah, so I took a twisted, winding, roundabout path to get here, right?
Yeah.
To be sitting next to you, which is an honor. Thank you. I do appreciate you having me on here. High school, never the smartest guy ever in any classes or any school.
Yep.
I was definitely one of the more creative, right? I would always find, hey, you tell me I got to get this done. I won't do it the way you tell me I'm supposed to do it, but I'll find a longer way to get it done, but then I'll feel like it's my own, right?
Yep.
Makes sense. So high school, I actually got kicked out of high school as my senior year for various different reasons. I mean, I got in trouble. I mean, drinking, cheating on tests, fighting. I mean, the whole gamut. Kicked out of high school, kicked into another one, went to Iowa State right out of high school because I figured that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Go to college,
Yep.
get a college degree, get married, have 2.5 kids, get a house with a white picket fence, and that's your life, right?
Yes.
And so I went to but failed out of college. I made it a semester. I passed one class. It was golf.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Took me 15 years to start playing golf after that, but that's a whole other topic.
That's funny.
And then came back home, kind of floundered for a while, ended up flipping burgers at the Nook in St. Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Love those guys. Mikey and Ted, those are my guys. So learned a lot from there. Same thing. It was like, man, this manual labor, working hard, playing hard, fun stuff. And then I went, like I mentioned before, I went to chef school. I had the opportunities. It was like, well, maybe let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
Because again, kind of floundering, looking for something, not really knowing, not really willing to put any of the work into it, just kind of taking what was given to me.
Yep.
Had the opportunity to go to chef school, failed that miserably. I mean, my wife jokes all the time how terrible I am at cooking, man. Like it's laughable how terrible I am. But anyway, so did that, and then I ended up like I mentioned before, my dad sold his company to another one out in Utah.
Yeah.
Well, when they bought the company that bought his was more of a repackaging plant. They never actually manufactured food, seasoning blends, and soup bases, which is what my dad's company was.
Yeah.
Very high end, very clean label, which now would be killer, but at the time he was almost kind of a little ahead. Well, it was kind of ahead of his time. So the company out in Utah brought myself and two other people out there. Did that for 2 years, got in a whole heap of trouble, and then came back home, got sober, got my life together, right, and then.
So let's go. Let's give
dive into
give
that?
me some No, not too deep, but got when? What years?
I'll tell you exactly when. November 22nd, 2009.
Okay.
In Utah.
Yeah.
I got arrested.
Okay.
And it was a serious charge.
Yeah.
And it was it was a gun charge. It wasn't anything, stupid.
Wait a minute. I think that might be still stupid, but we'll leave that there.
Yeah. But it wasn't like a crime of character or anything.
Yes,
I guess
I
I just need to clarify that.
Yes.
Running around with some bad people making poor choices.
Yep. In Utah?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There are poor people out there.
Yeah.
Like poor people making poor choices.
Yes.
Well, so when I moved out to Utah, funny enough, man, I thought it was a dry state.
Yeah.
Literally, I thought the whole they cornered off all of the border and it was like a dry state.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
No.
You still found some trouble.
Found a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Water finds its own level, Tom.
Yeah.
It's
so
funny how that works.
2009, November 22nd?
November 22nd, 2009.
How old were you?
26.
26?
I was 26 when I got sober.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yep. Yeah, and then came back home, court ordered to go, do a few things,
Yeah.
right? And did those successfully. And then I remember, so I was in treatment and in a halfway house at the time. This was 13 years ago. And I remember sitting in there and seeing these men, these grown men, 50, 60 years old. And they were basically going from the common area where they would watch TV
Yep.
to the cafeteria, outside to smoke a cigarette,
Yeah.
go take a nap, and the cycle was just that.
Yeah.
And I decided then, so that would have been 2010, that's not going to be my life. That this is not where it ends for me. This is not going to be. I'm not going to be like them. And I made the decision at that time. I was 3 months sober, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school. I want to be an attorney. I want to be, because I remembered when I was in Utah, the court case was going on, and the prosecuting attorney looked at me. And I got, oh my gosh, I might get emotional thinking about this. Like, I got a second chance.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I want to be the guy to give that second chance.
Yep.
Which is very egotistical, I know now. But at the time, my heart was in the right place.
Yes.
And I'm like, I want to be that person to give a second chance. And I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be a prosecuting attorney, and so I needed a 4-year degree, which I had never had. I told you I failed out by my first couple attempts, failed miserably, and I went back to school. And I remember, man, I was taking night classes. I was taking the light rail from downtown Minneapolis to my treatment center, which is at 62, which is, I mean, it's across town.
Yes.
And I'm getting off the light rail at 10:30, backpack on, and going to my halfway house and getting up and doing everything. I mean, I was busy. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I got a second chance at life. And I went to I got my undergrad degree, passed with honors, man.
Wow.
Man, I mean, how cool is that, right? Like I thought I was just a dumb person.
Yeah.
And it turns out if you go to school and if you apply yourself and you do the assignments, you actually get your grades. Isn't that? It's a neat concept.
Yeah.
Trying to pass that on to my 13-year-olds. And so what happened was I did that and I like I said, graduated with honors and I got a job as a paralegal very early on. 6 months
Let me
into it.
pump the brakes for a minute.
Oh my
right?
gosh! All right.
So there's a couple things that you've shared so far that a lot of people, one, aren't willing to share. But you've talked about a lot of the struggles you've had, with alcohol or different things, and you've put this out on this podcast. Why is that? I think a lot of people feel either guilt or shame or embarrassed or. But I would say the one thing that I know of you, and I know this, but I want our audience to understand why. Well, why do you share those things?
Because I want to help.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line. I mean, I feel like I was given the second chance, 13 years ago.
And just to be clear, you're still sober, correct?
Still very active, very active in the community. I sponsor men, have a sponsor. I'm very active in that lifestyle, in that community.
So you're not sharing it to talk about I was kind of a screw up and I just got my life together. You actually help mentor a lot of, I'll say young men, older men.
Yep.
Really, you're active in recovery, right?
Very much so. Yeah. It's giving me it's giving me my life back. I mean, quite frankly. So the way that I look at it is if I can, I like I said, I think I've been put here to help people.
Yep.
And my calling and well, not to get too philosophical, but like I feel like all I need to do is to help people to remain in this lifestyle, right? And so and I learned that years ago. It's like and my sponsor will tell me, he's like, look, man, like you feel great, life's awesome, and life is awesome. I feel very blessed, and he keeps reminding me, just give it back, give it back, and that's what I do. I mean, it's a very simple plan. It's not easy at times, but it's very simple.
No, good. I just wanted to cover that because a lot of people you'll hear we all used to party when we were younger. Some of us couldn't get off the train or like shut it down when the nightclubs closed. And then what do you do? You've done it, and you like, it's part of, I think, what is your character. Like you said, I like helping people. I like giving back. Good. I just wanted to cover that.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Yeah.
Pick back up where you were. So you went.
Question? Do you see any red flags as a kid? Do you see any of those in your children that you're kind of worried about, or like, You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. No, I don't. I totally do. So it's funny you should ask that. So you know where I'm going with this. So we have my 13-year-old. He's my stepson. Not like me at all. He's a good kid, cerebral, kind of, you know. But then you get my 3.5-year-old. Found this kid this morning. Pulled the stool up to the bar where we keep not alcohol bar, but like because I keep the iPad up on like the top shelf because he's been climbing things.
Yeah.
Started to climb the shelf again. So we wake up and he's like in this perilous position where he's like holding out like and so we found him and so that one I see some flags about. Also this video.
Yeah, was that the one where he was asking for cocaine and gold?
Cocaine and gold. Cocaine and gold. So last weekend we went up to visit my parents, and this kid walks up to me, and I had just woken up. I mean, I think I was halfway through my first cup of coffee, and this kid walks up to me. He's like, and he's looking up at me. He's like, "Daddy, I want cocaine and gold." I'm like, "What?" Well, and the funny thing is, I started recording it because I'm recording them like this. The Facebook subtitles picked that up.
Yeah.
I didn't edit it. It was like, I want cocaine and gold. I'm like, cocaine and gold.
What did he want?
I don't know.
He didn't tell you?
Not a clue. He walked because I asked him, like, what do you want? Like, show us where the cocaine and gold is.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like, show me where that stuff is, young man. And so he walks over to the freezer and he's digging in the ice cube tray.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, I still don't know if my parents, if maybe they party on the weekends. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what. But that one, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some red flags that I can see with that. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The good news is I know where to help him out if he does.
Right, and more importantly, you lead a good example. I think that's where a lot of us. You obviously had a good example, but for a lot of us as youth, you didn't have the best lifestyle growing up, right? Maybe you saw some things you shouldn't have. Our parents always try to do the best they can, but all right, let's pick back up where we were. You went to college, you graduated, you got a 4-year degree, right? You got a bachelor's degree.
Yep.
What'd you do?
Well, I worked for a bit. I mean, I had graduated, let's say, from kind of this personal injury law firm, ambulance chasers, great firm, love the people, but like.
So what were you doing?
I was a paralegal. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I'm chasing almost like.
So you got your degree.
Yep.
You went to work for a law firm.
Yep.
Right, and you were a paralegal.
Yeah.
And I think this is right about the time you and I met. If I'm not mistaken,
right.
We met 2011. 2002. It's been about 12 years you and I have known each other, and that's where you were working then.
It's been a good ride, boss.
Yeah. So now this is where the story, in my opinion, gets a little fun, right? Not to say your past wasn't fun, but I'm a little selfish. This is where I come into play. And paralegal thing. How's it going? I mean, tell me how you were feeling. What were your aspirations of what your next steps were going to be?
Well, next step was always law school.
Yeah.
That was the end goal. That was what I had planned for. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Didn't know how I was going to pay for it. But it was always law school. That was the carrot. And then I started working at like I said, this personal injury law firm, work comp law firm. And I wasn't a fan of it, like I just didn't like, I felt like most of the people that I had to deal with on a daily basis were just trying to game the system.
Yeah.
Just trying to get, paycheck and just not my cup, not what I wanted. Right. So I ended up going to work for like the other side, if you will, the defense, where we were working for the insurance companies. And I love that, man. We were down the 5th Street Towers, high end, had my own office and, it was a different feel. And it was more of like, oh yeah, this is what I could get into, and at that time I was starting to look around at law schools, look at where I was going to go. Started practicing for the LSAT, and because I got to the point where I was like, well, I'm making $45K with benefits as a paralegal, which is fine for a single guy, but there's no way in today's age that I could raise a family or
Sure.
provide to
Right.
them what I wanted to provide to them.
Right. And it caps out a little bit.
Totally.
I mean, with until you actually go to law school, then you're going to take on another 350,000 in student loans.
Yeah, but even at that, it was like, gosh, I mean, Tom, I did the math. It was like I would have been practicing law at 38, which would have been a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, and starting out making $65K,
Yep.
saddled with $250,000 worth of debt.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just one of those like, gosh, I don't know if this is the path that I want to take and enter you.
Yeah.
I remember very, very clearly, because you're really good at this. It's all you reach out to people. They cross your mind, I think, and you reach out to them. Where me, I'm like, gosh, I should totally call them, and then something happens, and I don't call them. You actually take the action.
Yeah, I try. It's
You know, you're good at it, man. Like it's fun to watch that. And you did that to me. It was one of those like, hey, we haven't got together for a while. Let's get together for dinner. And I was in this in between phase. I was at the new law firm.
Yep.
Practicing for the LSATs to get ready to take my exam to get into law school. And I just made this decision, like I just said, I was like, man, I'm going to be practicing law late 30s, going up against these young 25, 27-year-olds, right? And I just decided I was going to pivot, or I was going to explore what was out there. And our mutual friends over at K2 Bath Design, Chad Carrison and John Kochman,
Yes.
I met with Chad, and Chad was going to have me sell his high-end cabinets.
Yeah. Yep. Blue box, right?
Blue box,
Yes.
big time. You know, making $125K a year.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean,
It
gosh,
is.
at that time, man, that was a lot of money. And then I remember we were having dinner, and I remember we
Yeah,
were
do you remember where we had dinner?
Buster's.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I still want to drive past there every now and then. It's like, it was the only time I've ever been there. And this was in South
Yeah,
Minneapolis.
38th.
And it was weird because it's one of those, for me, I still remember I had a Reuben. I don't know why, but it was like some of the things you remember on when you have like a sit-down meeting. I didn't know. Truthfully, when we met at that time, I had no intention. Zero
I believe you.
intention
I believe you,
of
yeah.
like trying to recruit you or get you in. One, you've been a friend of mine. You'll be a friend of mine regardless if you work with me or, you decide to go back and flip burgers, I think you're right. I don't know if
that
your wife
ship
will
has
still
sailed.
be friends with you if you decide to go back and flip burgers. But I remember sitting at that meeting, right? And we were sitting at the bar because it was busy and, we just started talking, right? And we got into, you started sharing a lot of like what your ambitions were, what your goals were. And I just remember kind of breaking it down and just saying, well, listen, what's the cap at where you're at? 60, 70,000? Like, at some point, when are you willing to bet on yourself, right?
Yeah, I'll never forget that, man. That was one of, if not the most pivotal points in my life. And because I didn't like, I was gaining self-confidence. I was going along. I was doing good things. I was working out again. Like I felt really good. But financially, like I never had that vision of how I was going to get there. As odd as it sounds, and I was thinking about this, like I kind of knew like something bigger was in store for me, but I had no clue where it was going to come from. And just a testament to you. You were, I mean, dude, like you were there and you were just being helpful. Right, and I believe that that's one of the reasons why you've been so damn successful is like you want to genuinely help people. And I think that's something that not a lot of people know about. Yeah. They see you and they hear you, but you actually live that, right? And you lived that with me 7 years ago, and you said just that, man. Hey, do you want to take a bet on yourself?
Yep.
Do you want to gamble on yourself? And I never thought about it in that way. Now I've repeated that to a lot of people. You know, hey man, you bet on yourself, or hey gal, you bet on yourself. You're never going to go wrong.
Right.
So I've like regurgitated that out to people. But when you said that to me at that time, it was something that just it like snapped. It just the trigger was like, yeah, let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
And you told me, man, to your credit, you're like. I'm like, Tom, I don't know what you do. I didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
But you're always on your phone. People like you. I like you. You got nice toys, like you're a cool ass dude. But I didn't know what you did. And you're like, I sell money.
Yeah.
You have a great way of just like boiling things down to its simplest form, which for a knucklehead like me, I need that. And you're like, I sell money. I'm like, cool, let's give it a shot. You know, and you're like, I'll teach you everything you need to know. I'll school you. I'm there for you. Like, I'll mentor you if you whatever you need. I'm there for you. And it was at that point I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot, right? Yep. And that was, I mean,
you took your test, right?
Yeah, failed it 2 times.
Yes, I was a little worried about you because I think you had one shot left before you had a 6-month cooling off period. And it's not an easy test. I had to be honest with you. I mean, it's one of those things to where the majority of it doesn't relate to real world, right? It's like, how well can you study this information to memorize it to pass? And I'm glad they have it because truthfully, I've been in it since 2001, 2002, and there was no barrier of entry. So at least we have a barrier of entry now. So, you start out, you pass the test, right? 3rd attempt.
By the skin of my teeth,
yeah, but it was a celebration moment. I was pretty happy for you.
I was in Puerto Rico when I got when the license actually came.
Yeah.
I was in Puerto Rico, yeah.
So you got it, and then, how was that? Like, starting out?
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. I mean, it was tough because, I mean, the way that I look at it now and the way that I kind of tell people when they're coming in, it's like you're starting a business from the ground up.
100%.
Which truly is. I mean, Edge is we're given the platform, we're given the tools to do it, but at the end of the day, it's me. I'm going out there.
Yeah,
so,
you have the field, but you got to plant the seed and you have to water it. You have to tend to it, and it doesn't bear fruit the first 30 days.
Dude,
the
6
first
months,
60
man.
days.
So I remember. I don't know if you know this, but I had a date that I was.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, man. So I was talking with my sponsor at the time, who's still my guy. He was like, "Well, you have to have this date. If you don't have a deal by this, you got to go back to the law firm."
I remember.
Yeah, man. And so it was
6 months. You gave yourself 6 months.
6 months, and on like month 5.5, so like 5.5 months into it, I got my first deal, the Hurt loan.
Yeah. Well, let's even talk about those 6 months because I remember, I remember looking and I'm like, Sid, like, you got to do something. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's not a direct path, but go do something. Go drive Uber. Like, meet people. I don't care what you do to meet people. Like, our industry is about connecting, right? Like, we're not handing you leads and try to sell this deal. To me, that's what I love, why it's a career more than a job for me, is it's a relationship-based business, right? So you had the relationships. You just didn't have the, I want to say the knowledge or reputation yet that people knew what you did, right? Yeah. And for one, you couldn't go out advertising it because you didn't even close the damn loan yet, right? So it's not.
Well, I didn't have the confidence either. I mean, that was
correct.
a big thing to it too. So I was like, I didn't feel like I could go talk to people, say, hey, trust me with the most important
100%.
Decision, financial decision of your life, please. Yep. I got you.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was, I did drive Uber.
Yes,
right?
I know you did.
Man, I had the Uber sticker.
I was proud of you though, because what that showed me, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't tell you this, but it bought you a little time too, because I would have I want to see if you're willing to, sometimes take direction, right? And even though it doesn't relate to mortgages in that situation, one, I wanted to make sure you had enough money to I always joke around and say that you're not so broke that you can't pay attention. Because it's a true thing, right? Especially in a 100% commission field, sometimes you get too broke that you can't pay attention.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be. You start to make poor decisions. Now, luckily, I knew your character, and you were in a good place to where I didn't have to worry about that. But at the same time, it takes a little bit of money to make money too, right? Just like, for now we do, if we're helping out an agent on, sponsoring some leads or different charitable events or whatever, it takes a little bit of money to make money. Especially with us because, you got to pay for every credit report pull. I mean, there's expenses that come along with doing this job. So, right about to the 6 month date, you get your first deal, right?
Yeah. Well, and I remember it was almost a mercy kill. Like, who gets fired from a commission job? It was close, man. But no, it was right around that time. And at that point, I was going to B&I meetings, Chamber of Commerce. I mean, I was out doing stuff, but you know, and the other big thing that I did was, you know, LinkedIn. We had this template with that I put together with my marketing gal at Amplify, and she and Courtney was like, "Hey, we'll do this and then she would connect with realtors, and then once they would reach out, then I would take over. Hey, let's get together for a coffee." And so I was, you know, meeting people with coffee and setting these things and doing everything, getting the pieces together, and then the first deal fell, you know, it happened. You know, Kyle Hurd, that was my guy.
It's funny how we always remember our first deal. My first deal ever, the guy's name was Jesus.
Really?
AKA, you know, I'm looking at it and I thought it was Jesus.
I'm
like, yes, he's come again. He's helping me. I remember it. It was, granted, this was the Wild West days back in mortgages, but it was,
you have a name, you have a loan. Yeah. No, so I got the deal and I knocked it out of the park, man. Like, I mean, I'm sure with your help, you helped me. Like you said, you're a man of your word. You followed every step of the way. So the thing that I think has also made me successful is having that blueprint, doing the job right.
Yeah.
Not half-assing it. Not like, oh gosh, I pulled credit and you're good.
Yeah.
I don't need income docs. I don't need bank statements. I don't need to read the credit report. And you taught me to do that early on, so I've always had those building blocks.
Yeah.
And that really helped.
Yep. Well, when you put your name on something, it's your reputation.
Right.
You know, it doesn't. To me, it's the same thing with anything you do, right? If it's going to be tied to you, and especially an industry that, like, right now, do you do any advertising?
Well, no.
I'll just say no. I know. I mean, I know some stuff we do just to get your name out there, but it's not. It's not clear like you're getting deals from
Correct.
it.
Right.
Reputation is your advertising in this industry, right? When you help someone, the goal is to get 2 referrals from them. You did such a good job, and you've had people like this in your own life, like. You know, they've done a great job for you, whether it's your realtor that sold you the house, whether it's a painter, whether it's somebody who builds a deck. They do such a good job. You want to refer them to your friends so they know who to use, right?
Yeah.
And that is what I would say our marketing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our marketing is we want to do such a great job that you're going to want to refer me to your friends and family so you know that they are taken care of and they're communicated with.
Yeah, no, and you're right. To be clear, I'm 100% referral based. I mean, everything that comes to me now is, hey, so and so gave me your name. Hey, I work with so and so. Definitely, which is great. I mean, that's where I want to be.
That's the career, right? That to me, to where, and I've done both sides of it, to where coming in and seeing a stack of 20 leads that you're trying to compete to win. Don't get me wrong, I love to compete, and I did that for a long time, but it's not it felt like a job and not a career.
Yeah.
Where for me, if somebody is relying on me, I'm not going to let them down. And I know that you're the same way, right? Like both of us have had things where it might go sideways and we take it on personally. Like I feel sick, you know. They call me sick. If I know that somebody isn't going to be able to close on time, even though it's not my fault, I still take it on because they relied on me, right? And I know that you share in that same sentiment. So you get your first deal closed, right? Starting to get a little taste of what it is. Walk me through the next couple of years. Like what changed for you? What happened to where you feel like this is something you're going to retire doing?
I got my first win. I mean, and that was something. So my wife, well, she was my girlfriend at the time. Bless her heart. I mean, I met Katie the week I put my 2-week notice in at the law firm.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, babe, I'm going to be nice to meet you. I'm not going to have a job here for a while.
She was your sugar mama for a little bit then, wasn't she?
She was my sugar mama.
Yeah,
oh,
she
yeah,
was
man.
doing good.
She was crushing it.
Yeah.
Dude, she's, very successful selling cars.
I think she sold us one bit during that time. Yeah,
That's
remember?
Awesome.
I don't remember. We went and bought one from her. She was a hustler.
She's good. Like anyway, I could wax poetic about my wife for hours, but she was just saying, hey, you need a win. You need a win. You need a win. And once I got that win, that taste, I mean, it was like, oh.
Yep.
Well, I felt kind of good. Like, there's nothing better than being at the closing, all smiles, all happy.
Celebration.
Really is. Like, that's the one thing that I missed from COVID. All the closings we had was like, we couldn't go to them. It's like we put all the work in. And anyway, I'm jumping ahead, but So you know, at first when I had that little taste, it was like, oh, this is cool, this is fun, and it was less about it became less about the money over time than it did again to what we do, like to help people, right? And like once, it's as crazy as it sounds, once I shifted away from, okay, I have enough money to be comfortable,
Yes.
have enough money to
Yes.
be okay and to know where it's like now I can just focus on helping people. I mean, it went gangbusters. My business went from 12 the first full year to 24 to 50 to 100 to 101. You know, I mean, it literally doubled. Like,
Yeah.
and it was the shit. Well, and the refi boom that really helped. But like,
Yeah, it does, but it's still the same sentiment, and
Totally.
I agree with you. And there was a certain point in my career that the exact same thing happened. Right?
when was that?
For me, it was like, so I started with, I wanted to learn the purchase side of business, right? So 2010, when I came back to Minnesota, I worked for Waterstone Bank for a little bit, and then when it was with Edge, you know, when we started Edge 2011, I want to say it was like 2013 or 14. Once you get to the point to where your basic needs are met, right? Like, okay, I can pay my mortgage, I can have food on the table. I'm not worrying about putting $25 in the gas tank. I fill the gas tank, right? Like, so once you get past that point, then you just, at least for me, it was like, even now, I don't care if we make $1 or we make $10,000. Like, to me, what can I do to help? Right? Like, to me, I think the universe has a way, and I'm a B&I guy still. So like, givers gain, right?
Yes.
Exactly what you're talking about with even the gift of sobriety that you've received. Like, I give that back, right? I'm trying to help somebody to see, you know what? There is a different side of the coin, or even in this industry, like helping people. When somebody knows that you're trying to help them and it's not self-serving, you actually create a relationship. To me, if I'm being sold, like, I know when I'm being sold, right? Like, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Go away.
Like, it just feels slimy to me. But a mortgage is something you need, and if you have somebody that's truly trying to help you, I think it makes a massive difference. So, so you made the switch. You got into the point of really trying to focus on helping people. I remember kind of the next turning point for you, which was, you know, we were talking, like, you and I will sit down and, hey, what can I do? Where am I at? And I remember I printed a list for you. I said, well, listen, you know, I've got great relationships with a lot of top agents in the cities, but I can't handle calling everyone that's in these. Like, call them. Like, here's a list. Call anybody that's in this office and use the reputation that we've built. And he did that.
Yeah. I called like the Eden Prairie office for Remax, and I got a hold of Sam Stedman, who's just a rock star. That dude is I mean, he's a killer. And I remember Sam was just starting. I mean, we started about the same point.
I forget the name of that team back then. It
wasn't it the pro team?
No, because that was Ryan Fisher, and I think he spun off from. That was Fisher and Stedman that both spun off from that group that was at that Eden Prairie Remax.
Oh,
But
yeah, you'd know better than that. That was before.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I called Sam. Well, I called everybody on the roster, to be honest with you. And I met with like Jack Johnson. Anyway, bunch of them. But Sam and I really hit it off.
Yep.
And Sam and I started to team up together. I would do open houses with him. We teamed up for Zillow.
Yep.
You know, we were getting Zillow leads. And I remember Stedman. I will be forever indebted to Sam. He told me when we met, you know, the second time we met or whatever, he's like, Sid, I'm gonna blow your business up.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna absolutely blow your business up for you. And he did.
Yeah.
And so got in with him, started to, you know, we had to weed through some, you know, some hairier files to get, you know, some closings.
Got to sift for some gold.
You got it. But a lot of crumbs made a cookie. And so what we did is, you know, and what I did, the blessing that I got was like I was able to watch how he did it.
Yeah.
And he did, I mean, so I was able to watch him and see what he did, and that accelerated my learning process, right? So very much similar to getting hooked up with you. I got hooked up with him, and now I'm hooked up with another top agent, and I just keep kind of like going from like rock star to rock star to rock star, and just like learning and watching you guys do it. And so when I met with him, and then, you know, we worked for a few years, and I got so much experience, so much exposure, and that that catapulted. I used that Facebook, right? Closings,
Yeah.
you know, like, and I'll be honest with you, Tom. I'm not a huge fan of doing all that, but I love the results, and when I make it not about me, when I make it not about, hey, look, it's Sid right here.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how can I help you out?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we did that, and that gained my exposure, right? That built up my social media presence,
Sure.
right? And that, you know, got to, you know, other agents were seeing that. Then I would call them and I would start doing business with them. Or friends, they would say, hey, I see you're doing a lot of business, you know?
They
And
know that you're able to get the job done.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
to me, sharing wins, even though it seems a little self-serving, it serves a purpose.
Very much so.
To
Yeah.
me, even when I look at who I want to work with, I want to work with somebody that's good at their job, that's not average. And I've always stated the mortgage industry is similar to poker, right? There's the same 52 cards that every player has, but yet there's always the same people at the final table. You know, out of thousands and hundreds of thousands of players, there's always the same guys that are at the final table.
That's good.
And to me, you know, I want to be a master. I want to be a master at my craft. I want to be at the final table. And it's constant improvement that at least, you know, for me, I'm looking for. Even with our new office, like, why invest, you know, why invest $1 million for a new office? For what? Like, we don't need an office, right? We could work from home. Half the people in our company, probably more, work from home. But to me, it's a chance to invest to make sure that we get to the final table, right? Like, what makes us better? Coming in and watching, you know, having a sales rally at 8 a.m. every Wednesday to watch, you know, UWM sales rally, working on things with collaboration with us, having Jake, you know, he's building out our media studio and having our podcast row. Like, these are things to me that are crucial to make sure that you're at the final table, right?
I like that.
Which I'm excited about. So, grand opening of our new office, just so you know, May 1st, 2023, right at 62 and Baker Road. Call it the Crosstown, but yeah, I'm really excited for that. So, let's finish off our story here. You made those phone calls. You met a great agent. You started to learn more and more people. You had a refi boom. You know, that was a great time. Obviously, for a lot of us, it was I don't know how to say it, shooting fish in a barrel.
Gosh, man.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a weird time. I've been in this industry a long time, and it was one of those. And I've joked with friends about it. Like, during that time, it felt like you went to the ATM and it just would not stop spitting out hundreds.
Right,
and at
right.
what point do you walk away?
Right.
Right? Like, at what point, and I think for me, that was on a daily basis from working. Like, if I wanted to get up at 4 a.m. and work till midnight, there was enough work constantly to where it was strictly, you know, how much time you wanted to put in. That's not the way it is right now. Right now, you can work 120 hours a week. It might not make that much of a difference, right?
Yeah.
May make a little difference, obviously, but that was just, wow, it was a crazy time.
Yeah.
And you, during that time, you crushed it, right? I mean, I think you were top 5 in the company, closed.
100, 102, and then 101, I think.
Yeah. So you did
Each
what, 40 million, 50 million?
I think 50, yeah, 40, 45, 50.
Yeah, which is crazy.
46,000, no, I'm just kidding. I don't
Yeah.
know.
1.21.
Like, should know that. No,
So going forward now, right? So you obviously have become successful in this industry. I want to ask you this question because for me, this is something that's different for every person. Like, what do you view as success? If somebody said, you know, said, are you successful? What do you view success as? In your definition, like, what is success to you?
as cheesy as it sounds, honestly, waking up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like but more importantly, waking up. So again, during the refi boom, during COVID, we had 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a 1 and a 3-year-old, and so it was like, you know, having them, you know, being able to parent them, to be like a present parent,
Yes.
more importantly.
Yep.
is something that I view as being successful. I get to watch my little kids grow up, right?
Yep.
They're in that phase that, I get it. It's a small window. It's a finite window, and you ain't getting it back.
Right.
And so success for me is to be able to financially support the whole family, which I do.
Yep.
We're a one-income family. And also I get to be present for my wife, for my kids.
Yep.
And that to me that's success.
Yeah.
I mean, for real, like that to me is the definition of success. Not having to punch a clock, not, hey, gotta go kids, see you tomorrow, see you tonight.
Yeah.
Not having to do that. We need to go, we can go do what we want, right? I mean, we have the flexibility to pretty much do whatever we want.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I can't think of a lot of other industries or careers where it's like that.
No, me neither.
I mean, seriously, it's been, and I just fell into it. I mean, God, I have a horseshoe tattooed on my calf.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, my buddies nicknamed me the shoe. I mean, I'm just the luckiest SOB out there, right? And I keep falling into these situations, and so, but in that same respect is like I took the gamble on myself,
100%.
right? And I mean, like I'm always willing to gamble. Sometimes it works out, like
Yeah.
the hydrogen plant we're invested in right
Yes.
now. Sometimes I take a big swing. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But being in the position to take those shots,
Yeah.
I think are really crucial. And then having the guts to actually pull the trigger.
Yeah, to bet on yourself.
Totally, 1,000%. Yeah.
So you're there for your kids, you're there for your family. 5 years from today, like, what does successful Sid look like 5 years from today? Knowing that, let's get past the point of, we know you're there for your family. You have that. Like, for you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Like, for me, and I'd say we're pretty close in age. I'm 42, you're what, 40, 39?
38.
38.
39, sorry.
38, okay. So, and maybe you're not to this stage yet, but for me lately, especially with my wife and I, we got to this point where, like, we planned our life together to, let's have kids. Let's make sure we're good parents. Let's have a house. I never really envisioned the second half of my life, right? Like, I really did it. And I don't know if it was I always like to try to be in the present, but I always, as a younger kid, I always had plans for achievements, goals. And I don't want to say as I'm like resting now, I've achieved them all, but I've had to actually sit down, and my wife and I have been having a lot of these conversations lately, like, what does the second half of our life look like, right? And I think you're at that same stage with me, right? You're right around the same age.
We are.
Like, what does that second stage of life look like for you, and what are the goals that you have?
Well, that's the fun part. I mean, to be able to sit and have those conversations, with my wife, with my partner, like it's really cool to be at that stage, because yes, we are. And what Katie and I want to do is we almost want to set ourselves up like a company, where she and I, because we found we work better as a team.
Yeah.
Like we do. Sorry. So for me, I want to keep originating, right? That's the money, right? That's the revenue coming in. However, we want to add to that. So Katie has, she's been with us as a recruiter.
Yeah.
Not very active in it, but more importantly, what we want to do is, Katie and I want to set it up where we want to get into rentals.
Yeah.
We want to, I want 50 doors by the time I'm 50.
Okay.
So I got 11 years, 11 years to get that. We're closing on our first investment property actually next month.
Yep.
So, but for us, it's like we want to do that. There's this property flipping BRRRR, it's called. It's this like
Yeah, of course. Buy, rehab,
refinance, rinse, repeat, rent,
Yeah,
repeat,
yeah.
right? And so we kind of, and again, to your point, the fun part is we are playing with this idea because it's an option. We may not do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, we may not actually do that, but for us, it's like we want something bigger. We want to set
Sure.
something up for our kids,
Yep.
right? We want to set, our kids up with, a trust and be able to have that, right? To pass on to them, to set up a legacy, for our whole family.
Yeah.
I think that's how we're going to get there. We'll keep, with the originating, maybe branch off into that, but also maybe rentals. I think that's the big plan for us.
Yeah.
So
No, it's always To me, it's one of the best ways to do it. I think wicked smart. I'm excited to check in. I'll say 5 years, 10 years from now, regardless of what happens in this industry. I think you and I will always be friends. As you know,
Oh yeah.
I guess I don't. It's great that you work with me, but you're my guy. You've been a good person. You lead by example. I'm proud to have you as on the team here representing. I'm excited to see you meet those goals that you have. I'm excited for Katie to get engaged more on the recruitment side and building your team up. So I want to finish with one thing for those that are listening, that are in that position where they're about to cave, right? I would say where you were at. Right? At one point, I remember when you went and you actually started driving Uber, right? Making $12 an hour driving Uber, 15 maybe, I don't know. I mean, you got to look at the expense, your cost, but you were doing it, right?
Yeah.
You followed direction. What is the advice that you'd give for somebody that was at that point where they're about to give up?
Don't quit. Don't quit. I mean, so don't quit before the change can happen. That would be, I mean, because if I would have quit, and I was close, I was so close.
You were there.
Literally, man. Like I had a date. There was a date, and had I quit, I mean, not only would I not be sitting here next to you.
You wouldn't be living next to me either.
No,
I
I
don't
wouldn't
think.
be either. I keep following you around. It's funny, man. Like, no,
Our
like,
kids go to the same school now too, right?
just keep riding your coattails,
Yeah, that's
boss.
all right.
It seems
I
to work out.
I've done it to people in front of me. I mean,
Well,
that's
you follow
how-
the best. I mean, seriously, like why would I go? I mean, why would I do anything else?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a great example. You are. You're really good at what you do. Yeah, no, I appreciate you. And everybody appreciates what you do for the company, man. You are one of the people, not to make this a big Tom show, but like you make everybody around you better. It's a rare quality that I've seen. I haven't seen many people at all do it, and you do it really well. And you do it graciously. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
So don't quit, right? So I think, if I put into context what his example was, it's not only not quitting, it's trying everything at once to make it successful, right? It wasn't just driving. Driving Uber gave you an opportunity to meet and talk to people, right? Because I would say when you're in the car with them, talk to them about mortgages. You have professionals coming in and flying in that are hiring.
Yeah.
Like, talk to them. Call this list of people. The self-managing effort that it takes to be successful in this industry, the only person that's watching is yourself, right? Even when I give you those lists and tell you to do something, there was no checks and balances. I'm not coming back and saying, well, Sid, did you call each one of these people? I may ask, hey, do you need more lists? I remember like, hey, do you need me to print off more for you? How did they go? But it's not only not quitting, it's working consistently, and it's something that at some point you're panning for gold.
Yeah.
And you're going to find the gold sooner or later, right?
Well, and the one thing I would also add on to that, more to your point, take action.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
period. I mean, that's
Yes.
That's
a differentiator.
Yeah, thank you. Let me take it back from don't quit. Take action,
Take
right?
action.
Instead of sitting wishing
Yes.
that stuff would happen, like it would fall in your lap, like you got to take action. If
Yep.
you're not going to take action, you're not going to get the results. That's the one truth that I've found in this industry is like if you take action, regardless of what you're doing,
Correct.
visiting BNI. Hell, we started a BNI. Like
Yep.
I started a BNI group.
Yep.
Meeting realtors, going out, doing all this and that. I was taking action, and that action produced results.
Yep. Same thing happened for our guy Jake here as our video man who's out. He is almost, I would say, following in the exact footsteps that you were. Right? Like you came on as one of our interns to where, I started as a way for me to where I see somebody that, one, I believe in, right? So I'm going to give you enough money that you're you still are not making enough to live, but you can pay attention, right? And I've had the same thing with Jake. And Jake now, same thing, has his first deal in. I don't know.
Nice.
You excited about that first deal?
I am. I've already like celebrated that day. I'm on to like.
Yeah.
what else?
Well, To me, I was excited about it because what it's shown
awesome.
is like the actions that you were taking, right, to build a relationship with an agent enough that they're going to trust you, they're going to trust their reputation and give it to you. To me, like that's the part that I protect the most is the relationship. If an agent trusts me enough to send someone to me, then they're passing their reputation to me.
Yeah.
Can't see it, but it's there. And it's something that's probably one of the most fragile things in this industry.
Where'd you get the deal from? Was it from an agent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
With the Tyler Miller team, which is they're one of the top teams in this area.
Hitters.
Great client. I'll tell you this. He got the deal in 3 days clear to close with an appraisal.
Damn, look at you.
The group that he sent it to was like, well, wait a minute, how is this possible? I mean, they were blown away. But it just shows, like, even for a lot of the stuff, sometimes the recipe that I make is not the same recipe you're going to make. That's why there's different restaurants, right? It's like, what is your recipe? You have to find what you're good at, but none of it can happen without action. So I really like that you closed us out with that. Take action. If you like, for instance, Jake, I was never doing podcasts or the shorts. Like, that's what he's great at, but he's also found a way to connect with agents on it and say, hey, here's what I can do. Let's do this together. You're doing this.
Nice.
I like your content. He's been able to build on that, but it gives somebody a chance to show your character. For me, like, whether it's golfing, whether it's for you, sobriety, whether it's, aim, I do like his trade, like any chance you get to put yourself in a setting where you're working with somebody, people get a chance to know your character.
Yeah.
And if they know your character, they can trust you with that gift of their, their trust. Right. And it is a gift. Like, it's something to where you have to respect it. You have to know that it's like something is being passed that's intangible because you can't see it.
Right.
But it is the most important thing in this industry.
Yeah. Well, and that's the one thing that my top agent that I work with now, we were talking, and we become really good friends, to your point. Like, we go fishing, golfing, like, we're friends. And he said to me, I don't know how it came up, but I said something to him like, yeah. And he's like, well, no, of course I've been, like, I send them to you. Your communication skills are, bar none, the best I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So again, a little, not necessarily a feather in my cap, but communication. To your point, like, hey,
it's trust.
it is.
It's trust.
Totally.
I trust that if I pass this person to you, you're going to uphold my reputation. Right.
Yep.
Well, I think we're going to wrap on that. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you guys have any questions for Sid or myself, reach out, throw some comments below, but give us a subscribe. You'll see the link right here to subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every week we'll have someone, we're going to call it Around the Edge. I'm sorry, not Inside, Around the Edge, where we're going to highlight one of our best team members. Maybe coming in the future here, we'll have some real estate agents, attorneys, different referral partners that are also around the edge. But thank you so much. Have a great day.